I got a bunch of these pieces. They were headed for the garbage, and I thought that's such a waste. My urge not to throw stuff away kicking in. I reasoned there has to be something I can use this for. Well, I needed a part from one of my SMD storage boxes. And of course, it was in the bottom box. And right there, in that moment, I realized two things. I need a storage rack to hold my box all boxes. And there has to be some kind of force in the universe, some kind of fundamental law of boxes, that the needed box is almost always on the bottom. Maybe it's nature's way of saying, be organized. The scrap pieces are all a little over 4.5 inches wide and 18.5 inches long, so kind of tight constraints to work with, but that's why the pieces were going to be thrown away. I currently have 5 of the boxes, so I thought I should see if I can make a rack that can hold 7 of them. Give me a bit of room to grow. I also want to have a bit of room on top and bottom to grab the boxes with my fingers. Turns out there's plenty of space to get 7 boxes in a 17.5 inch high rack. So I need 4 pieces 17.5 inches long, and I'm going to try for 4 5/8 inches wide. These pieces will be the sides and the back. And I need 8 pieces 9.5 inches long and the same width as the sides. These will be the top, bottom, and shelves. First, I'm going to trim the pieces to make them all the same width, and make the sides parallel, at least somewhat parallel. I was able to get a bit over 4 5/8 inches of width out of the pieces, and that will work. Then just set up to cut 4 pieces the 17.5 inches, and then the 8 pieces 9.5 inches. That should be everything I need. I will be gluing this acrylic up with weld-on number 4. The most difficult thing in positioning the pieces is making sure what is holding the pieces does not touch the seam that is being glued. The glue will wick everywhere and make a mess. The shelf spacing will alternate between 2 inches and 2.5 inches. This one is being spaced at 2 inches. I'm using size 0 piano wire for the gap spacing. I need to order some smaller diameter as I think this is a bit too large. I'll give it just a few seconds as I'm aligning it before pulling the spacers out. Then I'll just hold it in place with the blocks for a couple of minutes. If I'm not going to be putting much pressure on the joint, setting for 3 to 4 minutes will be fine. For the 2.5 inch spacing, I'm using the 2 inch side of a 123 block and a 1/2 inch drill bit. Then apply the glue, align and then pull the spacers out. I'll hold the blocks tight by hand for a few seconds, maybe close to a minute. Then just the weight of the blocks will hold the acrylic in place for the rest of the time. When attaching the other side piece, it will be glued to the shelf pieces the same way. The only difference is that I will put a few pounds of weight on the top pushing down. The end pieces are a bit more difficult to glue, just harder to get them aligned. Now I will let this joint set for around 15 minutes. The reason for letting the last joint set a bit more is that it will be under some pressure when I move this end into position, and I don't want the last joint letting go. Once this sets a few minutes, then I'll glue all the shelf pieces to the side. Now it's time to put the back pieces on. As small as this is, it probably doesn't even need a back, as those end joints are quite strong. But I have the pieces cut for the back, and it is just a bit out of square. So using the back pieces will make for a stronger square rack. Going to put a clamp on the long angle to bring it into square. Got all the edges aligned, so it's time to glue. Now this is going to be messy. I don't have an easy way to get the glue into the joints in these tight spaces. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now to put some feet on. Otherwise it will be a bit tight pulling out the bottom box. The feet are made of acrylic, so just a bit of glue and they are set. After setting a few hours, there is one more thing before it's ready to use. I will take some fine sandpaper and knock down the sharp edges. Doesn't take much, but without knocking off the edges, they are sharp enough to cut skin. Let's see if it works. Well, that's going to be much better than the boxes just stacked on top of each other. And it's a bit more stable than I really expected. Turns out 4 5/8 inches, plenty wide. Thank you for watching.